Lyudmila Petrovna didn't enjoy the role of military wife. Lyudmila Petrovna's discussion and potential decision to divorce her husband played a role in one of the largest aerospace intelligence events of the Cold War. Disillusioned with his wife and life in the Soviet Union, MiG-25 Foxbat pilot Viktor Belenko defected to the West in September 1976. With his MiG-25 Foxbat thoroughly disassembled and examined by Japanese and American engineers in Hakodate Air Base, the Soviet Union leadership recognized very quickly that the jig was up. Their most advanced, high-speed interceptor, developed in typical Soviet secrecy, was now well known to their adversaries in the West, its intimate technical details dissected and understood by their opponents in the West. In this embarrassing debacle emerged a silver lining. With the MiG-25 Foxbat thoroughly compromised, there was no reason to normally restrict it from Soviet export sale. Typically, the Soviet Union would withheld their best aircraft for sale to allies, especially allies in the Middle East. But for the first time in Soviet history, client states now had access to the best their aerospace industry could develop. And in this opportunity, the Syrian Arab Air Force seized this chance to fly the best that Soviet aerospace industry could produce. Let's take a look at the dimensions of this thing, shall we? So measuring from approximately the tip of the aft parachute tail cone to the pitot tube, we're looking at about 12¼ inches in overall length, with the width from the end of the wingtip to the other end of the wingtip, we're looking at just about 7¾ of an inch. And for the height, going from the bottom to the tallest part of the model, which would of course be the tail, we're looking at about 3½ inches there. Overall weight, 1 pound, 0.3 ounces. Fairly sizable piece of kit here, folks. If you're looking to put this on display, you'll need to make some room in your cabinet for this big boy. The centerpiece is metal. It appears that the construction of the center here is kind of in following of the actual airplane. The center is made out of metal, and then the other parts, such as the aft control surfaces, are attached afterward and are plastic in construction. Well, these are plastic as noted. They're fairly stout. Unless you mishandle the model, they'll hold up pretty well. Although, cautionary note for anyone who gets this, the pitot static probe here, I'm not going to say it's necessarily fragile, but given the size of this thing, it is very easy to overlook, and you can probably snap this off if you put this in the wrong angle at your display cabinet or something. So just bear that in mind when you're handling it, that you don't want to mess with this guy right here, because that looks like that would be a pain to try to glue. In any event, if you're materials agnostic and you care about the overall presentation of a given model, you'll probably like this one. If you're somebody that wants a model like this to be all metal, well, we're all entitled to our preferences, but personally, an all metal model would have some tolerance issues, especially when you look at the thinness of the wings, but plastic lets you get pretty accurate with some of the smaller shaping and details, especially in 1/72nd scale. So personally, I'm materials agnostic. You can make the thing out of paper mache as long as the overall presentation is accurate. So overall, I think it's fairly easy to handle as long as you're careful and mindful of the overall size of it. The suspension pylons here for the missiles, the R-60s here, and then the R-40R. These two here, and along with their R-60 complements and the R-40Ts here, are made out of plastic. Again, while they're not necessarily very heavy, they are easy to handle, and on this model, there is no need for filing or blue tack to make them fit on the piece. They go pretty well out of the box for this one. So overall, thumbs up to HobbyMaster for having gotten the tolerances nailed down on this guy. You do get a fairly large external fuel tank that comes with it as well, but I have not fitted it because I haven't really seen any operators, Syria included, use it in actual missions. Those of you who have some photos or stories that are being used with the external tank, put a note in the comment section. I'd like to see those stories. As I suspect for most American aviation fans, I first encountered the MiG-25 in writings about its opponent, the McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle. I kept seeing references in various books and magazine articles to a Soviet-built Mach 3.2 superfighter. At the time of its introduction, this aircraft was considered something akin to death with wings by the American aerospace establishment. This aircraft would later be designated the MiG-25 Foxbat, and it was the MiG-25's perceived superiority which prompted the U.S. Congress to finance what was then the cutting-edge F-15 fighter jet program. With the F-15 Eagle program well underway, when Malenko defected in 1976, the U.S. Air Force carefully backed away from their initial position of the MiG-25 as being death with wings. The nickel-steel alloy construction, heavy airframe design, and large engines yielded an excellent time-to-altitude interceptor, which was unsuitable for many other functions and missions of a multi-role fighter. But even so, the Iraqis and Syrians employed their Foxbacks relatively well. In recognition of its historical significance to both the Cold War and Middle Eastern air combat through the Gulf War of 1991, I acquired this Foxbat in Syrian Air Force colors. Note at the time that I purchased this model, as far as I know, there was no Iraqi Air Force Foxbat in HobbyMaster's roster, although at this juncture they have released a reconnaissance variant that is the same airplane that's on display at the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force. If I have that backwards, please chime in the comments with the correct information on it, because I would love to see what an Iraqi MiG-25PD release would be in this scale and by HobbyMaster. As it comes, the MiG-25PD is far too clean for realistic presentation. While I stand by the position that model manufacturers should stay away from weathering the finishes out of the box, I still also agree that the owner should have the option to modify the weathering as they see fit. And in that manner, I have added some weathering to this MiG-25PD into what you see here. I think this is a much more realistic presentation for a Syrian MiG-25 than the out-of-the-box fresh and clean look. And I also updated the engine colors to look a little bit more realistic. Some of you hardcore MiG-25 fans will know that I got the colors switched. I'm sorry. I went off of a screenshot of a MiG-25 game photo, and the game developers got it wrong, so I got it wrong along with them. I didn't realize this until after the paint dried, so if you're going to hop in the comment section and call out that the ceramic green colors of the engine are inverted, you are all very much correct, and I very much apologize. I may fix that at some point, but I would have to strip the paint and do such other things, and I'm not real confident in my ability to strip the paint and redo it correctly the second time without ruining the finish on the rest of it, which I don't want to do. So, returning to the model itself, you notice that the Tumansky afterburners are pretty big, and I painted the center section black because as it comes, they have a lifeless plastic gray look to it. Now, understand that's not really just a HobbyMaster MiG-25 issue. That's pretty much a HobbyMaster model issue in general. But, it looks pretty dead in there unless you paint that black to give a little bit more of a realistic look. So that's, again, why it looks like this here. And lesson of the day, don't use video game screenshots when you're painting your models. I also added some red accents to the massive R-40 missiles, which at the time of their introduction were the largest air-to-air missiles ever fielded on a fighter aircraft. So between these changes and updating the engine area colors and painting the surrounding shielding to titanium, I think this MiG-25PD looks a lot more realistic than it did out of the box. That said, even if you don't change these components, I think on the balance it'll still look relatively realistic and will still look more or less like a MiG-25 on your display case or on your desk. For my suggestions on things to fix for HobbyMaster, here we go. The first is the aft engine area should be titanium instead of that flat gray that it comes with out of the box. Again, that's a HobbyMaster engine color issue with a lot of models. The other suggestion I have is that the faces of the engine intakes should be black or painted or covered in some way. As it comes out of the box, it is body finish color, and by some angles, especially facing the sun, that can be a bit distracting because it's just a flat black or a flat body color plate, and it really shouldn't be. So the model as is, I painted it black, so when you look at it, it's not distracting when it's on the desk. And the other thing that I would like to see is more detail on some of the air-to-air missiles. The R-60s, it's not a big deal probably, but with the R-40s, they're so huge and big that not having the detail out of the box was really noticeable. It looked a bit too generic without some of those red accents put to the missiles. And I would like to see that out of the box on some of the future releases that HobbyMaster has at the MiG-25. So I'd also welcome some input from you guys. What do you all think of the finished combinations that HobbyMaster has put into the MiG-25? Let me know what you all think in the comment section below. In Syrian service, the Foxbat clashed with its western nemesis, the F-15 Eagle. Be warned, as with most wars, air-to-air kills between sides are rarely confirmed, and so it stands here between the Syrian Air Force and its MiG-25s and the Israeli Air Force and its F-15s. So noted, the Israeli account will differ from that of the Syrian. The Syrian story is what I am about to share with you now. From their perspective, on July 1981, they planned an ambush of 2 Israeli F-15 Eagles. Their plan, 2 older and smaller MiG-21s would fly in an easily detected formation on radar. When the Israelis pursued the MiG-21s, the Syrian Foxbat would then fly a pincer attack against the F-15s, one from one side and one from the other. And with the MiG-25 speed, it was thought by the Syrians that it would overwhelm the F-15s without them realizing they were being hit. Unfortunately, the Syrians mistimed their intercept and their ground controllers routed the Foxbats too quickly. So the result was the Syrian MiG-25s wound up in a visual engagement almost with the F-15s. According to the Syrians, they lost a MiG-25 in exchange for shooting down an F-15 on the Israeli side with an R-40. The Israeli story is that they took down 1 MiG-25 without losing any on their side. I will, of course, leave it to you, the viewer, to decide which account you would prefer to believe. Thank you all for watching this review. As always, leave your feedback in the comment section provided below. And if you liked this video or my other reviews of models and some of the stories behind them, consider leaving a good comment and thumbs upping the video and subscribing. That way you'll be notified when I post my next video. Thanks for watching.